It's Thursday, February 7. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Parliament has approved the extension of the zones of special operations in Mount Salem, St. James and Denhamtown, Kingston. Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Tuesday sought and received the approval of Parliament for the extension of the two zones of special operations for a further 60 days. Prime Minister Holness told Parliament that the security measures in both communities have been effective.
That these measures are long-term in nature. They are not just designed to have a reduction in crime for 60 days. The intention is that these communities will develop the leadership, they will develop the institutions and the general environment of peace. That infrastructure and other kinds of development will be brought to these communities.
The Prime Minister also noted a significant reduction in murders in both zones. The communities are now in the build phase, where there is a focus on development activities alongside security-based activities. In the meantime, the Prime Minister told Parliament that there are additional communities which will benefit from ZOZO in the coming fiscal year. Former General Manager of Petrojam, Howard Mollison, says that non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, have no place in the employment arrangement for public sector employees. Further, Mollison has signaled that he would be willing to hold talks with the management of the state-owned oil refinery to settle his long-running contractual dispute, but is adamant that he will not make the first move. His stance came a day after it was revealed that at the Public Accounts Committee, PAC of Parliament, that Petrojam and its former human resource manager, Yolande Ramarak, agreed on a $9.2 million separation agreement that included a non-disclosure clause.
What I would agree with, and it is the position of this side, that there should not be this type of non-disclosure agreement.
Can I ask you if you can
just let me finish the point. The non-disclosure agreement, and I sympathize with what was said earlier, that in future we should review this very carefully. Now, just to be clear, there are other agreements, other termination agreements, with which there are non-disclosure agreements. It is not unusual in the public sector for that to happen. But I think that what has been raised here is that we should seriously examine from a policy perspective whether or not we should allow non-disclosure agreements.
Noting that Petrojam is owned by the Jamaican people, Mollison argued that there should be no privacy in the treatment of taxpayers' resources. Prime Minister Holness, who is speaking in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, also extended an olive branch to former Petrojam employees who have gone to the Industrial Disputes Tribunal to resolve issues surrounding termination of employment.
If at any time, and I think that is as much as I could commit to, if at any time any of the parties that have been aggrieved and are now involved in a legal process or in arbitration decide that they would come back for a settlement, the board has been given a general policy direction that these matters should be settled.
The Prime Minister said that the ball was in the employees' court to make the first move. The Kingston Public Hospital, KPH, is expected to install security cameras before month end. Hospital CEO Colleen Wright says they are in the process of assessing the situation with the view of installing the cameras by the middle of February. The consideration was made after a baby was stolen from the Victoria Jubilee Hospital last month. At the same time, Wright said the installation of CCTV cameras at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital have been completed. 29 people who were deported to Jamaica from the United Kingdom arrived on Wednesday afternoon. The 28 men and a woman were then taken to the Police Harmon Barracks for processing. Meanwhile, Britain's Guardian newspaper has reported that at least 6 Jamaican detainees are understood to have been granted a last-minute reprieve from the deportation flight. Campaigners say Owen Hazley, a musician from Manchester who also lived in northwest England since the age of 4, was among them. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade says it is aware of a voice note being circulated on social media accusing the Jamaica High Commission in London of calling the police on persons peacefully protesting in front of its office on Tuesday, February 4. In a news release to the media, the Foreign Ministry stated that a small group entered the reception area to deliver a letter to the High Commission about the charter flight scheduled to land in Kingston on February 6. Emotions were reportedly running high, and at least 2 persons became verbally abusive to the staff of the High Commission who felt threatened and considered it necessary to have the situation diffused by the diplomatic police. Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith is quoted saying, "The call was not made in respect of the approximately 30 peaceful protesters present that day exercising their lawful rights outside the High Commission." End quote. She said the ministry is reassuring the public that, quote, "Jamaican missions overseas will continue to protect the interest of Jamaicans across the world with dedication and respect." End quote. Motorists should see an increase at the pumps in the price of gasoline and diesel effective today, February 7. That's according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $119.56 and $122.40 per litre respectively, up by $2.82 each. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $130.07 per litre, following an increase of $2.73, while ultra-low sulfur diesel is also up by $2.58 and will be sold for $133.65 per litre. Meanwhile, kerosene increased in price by $2.77 and will be sold for $109.41 per litre. Do remember, marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. The US dollar on Wednesday ended trading at Jamaican $136.70, down by 49 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar ended trading at Jamaican $104.59, down from $105.02, while the British pound sterling ended trading at Jamaican $175.24, down from $175.46. In regional news, the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, says it's unlikely that citizens in that country will go to the polls by March 21, as demanded by the opposition following the no-confidence motion against the government. GECOM met on Tuesday, but there was no date or timeline set for elections. The David Granger administration is appealing last month's High Court ruling that the no-confidence motion held on December 21, 2018 is valid and that fresh elections should be held. GECOM Commissioner Vincent Alexander says a March 21 election is not possible because of the lack of a cleanup of up-to-date voters list. Ivor Watson of Capital News has more details.
According to Alexander, GECOM does not only have an obligation to hold elections, but to hold a certain type of election.
And for me, that quality of elections requires house-to-house registration, because the list is bloated, and this is something we've all recognized. We now have the finances to correct it, and we should use the monies to correct it. And so my request was as compact as possible, a house-to-house, so one doesn't want to ignore the fact that there's need to hold elections, but that elections should be held with as perfect a list as possible.
Alexander, however, said that the Commission is still looking at the options put forward by GECOM's Secretariat.
Did you deliberate on possible timelines for the holding elections, and can you say what those timelines are?
The Operations Committee got from the Secretariat proposals, options. And those options were rather clear in that a March election is a no-go. April election is a no-go. There is the possibility of one after April with a CNO, and there's another proposal of one after April with house-to-house. What has not happened as yet is that the Commission has not been able to be definitive about a house-to-house as opposed to a CNO.
And the claims and objection would be the earliest one if
yes, would be the earlier one. Earlier.
GECOM's Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield said that he will not be commenting on the possible dates for elections.
Ours is to stay at a particular state of readiness, all that we can do outside of a specific decision of the Commission. For us to, and you know 161 better than I do, Article 161, the Commission shall be responsible for the conduct of elections, general and regional, local government, and the conduct of registration. Each of those subsets require an order from the Commission. The Commission will give the Secretariat, well, the order will be published and gazetted, and then we proceed with the operations of this at the Secretariat, as I did say yesterday.
People's Progressive Party-nominated Commissioner Robeson Ben maintains that there is some attempt by GECOM to delay the holding of early election.
In my view, a cynical and callous plan is afoot to delay the holding of elections on the constitutionally determined date according to our present circumstances. And that date is March 19, 2019.
The Venezuelan military has barricaded a bridge at a key border crossing, issuing a challenge on Wednesday to a U.S.-backed effort by the opposition to bring humanitarian aid into the troubled nation. The bridge is at the same site where officials plan to store humanitarian aid that opposition leader Juan Guaido is vowing to deliver to Venezuela. The Trump administration has pledged $20 million in aid, and Canada has promised another $53 million. The squabble is now the latest front in the battle between Guaido and President Nicolas Maduro, who is vowing not to let the supplies enter the country, equating it to a foreign intervention. In sports, we look to cricket, where West Indies women captain Stephanie Taylor says her side will not be taking Pakistan for granted in the opening one-day international match on Thursday. The Windies women have already clinched the T20 series 2-1, but Taylor says she is expecting a tough fight from Pakistan.
We and Pakistan are pretty close. We're on the points table, not taking anything for granted. We just want to go out there and play our own kind of cricket, our own style of cricket, our own brand of cricket. So, yeah, it's not going to be an easy one. We see how well both teams did in the T20. So, yeah, I think this one is going to be, a challenging one.
Pakistan has rolled out a cadre of top spinners, including the likes of Aman Amin, Sana Mir, all of whom put up a superb performance in the recent T20s. While wary of this, Taylor says she has no qualms with using her full complement of spinners to counter the Pakistani.
We have about 5 spinners, good spinners, and yeah, I think it's more likely using them at the right time. And yeah, I would definitely use them a lot. I think that even though Pakistan have a lot of spinners, we pretty much have the same, and we could use them pretty much into at our advantage. Yeah, and I think it's more likely using them at the right time.
The Inter-Secondary Schools Sports Association, ISSA, has acquired a property valued at $50 million alongside Red Hills Road in St. Andrew, which will house its new headquarters and conference facilities. The property is located directly across from Calabar High School's main entrance and is currently being retrofitted to feature office spaces, with an official opening expected to be held after the staging of the ISSA Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships at the end of next month. It will replace ISSA's current base, which is located a stone's throw away at 21 Lindsay Crescent in St. Andrew. And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.